Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's Matt Cook with Jonathan Green. I am a uh, health researcher, sex researcher. I have over 700,000 newsletter subscribers, a best-selling book at Amazon, Healthy to 120. And Jonathan Green was a very, very famous, the most famous dating coach in the world till he retired to a tropical island. Here we are giving advice and entertainment about relationships and dating. How are you doing, Jonathan?
Doing pretty good. I'm excited to spend some time together and unleash a little mayhem.
Yeah, let's get some mayhem going. I thought we could just have a theme this week, and the theme could be the chase. What do you think about the chase? Who should chase whom? Is it true that there's always somebody that likes the other person more than that person
Ye-
likes them?
Yes. So
Of course, it's
it's
true.
give you an example. It doesn't have to be true. It could be perception. So my kids always think that they're not the favorite. All four of them are convinced a different one of the other ones is the favorite. They haven't figured out which one's the favorite. You can't let them know, but they each think that they're the least favorite. They have their own perception. So in the same way, you can have two people in a relationship and they both think I'm the one chasing, right? It's just like you have two
That's
people
right.
that work together on a project, they both think they're the one working harder. So when you
Uh,
objectively, you might have one person chasing, but subjectively, they might both be chasing.
well, that's true, and I think there's always somebody that is doing the chasing, and the chaser and the chasee. So, with that, let's kick off our very, very first question. So, for the first year, we used to kiss and have sex, but not get hot and steamy. Then he stopped kissing me altogether. I don't know when. And now he just wants to go straight to sex. And, I told him that I like to do kissing and stuff, but he doesn't seem to listen. And so I don't know. I'm frustrated, she says. Um, I think all these things are really important, but he doesn't seem to listen. I just feel like
So,
he's also disconnected in the act. There's no eye contact. And I like to imagine he'd be connecting with me, but I always feel like he's looking at in his head mentally at porn images. He says he's not, but that's how I feel. So what do you think I should do? She says.
so he's smart enough to not admit that. 'Cause you know what I mean? The last thing I would say is, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah, no, I love sleeping with you. I'm just imagining someone prettier." You cannot say that. That's a devastating thing. At least he's smart enough not to say that. But that's probably what he's doing. I
yeah.
think that it sounds like, right, and this is something I encountered. So about a while ago, my assistant was like telling me about. She's like, I slept with a guy last night. And she goes, he kissed me while we were doing it, and I was like,
Hmm.
she goes, I've never had that before. I said, wait,
So,
you what? So younger people who've grown up on the pornography generation, which is everyone really younger than me, was like my first encounter was like everyone else of my generation. We found a dirty magazine either in the woods or in the back of a
yeah,
classroom. My
it was a
case, it was,
magazine.
and
Yeah,
same for me, which is very, and it was there were no men in it. It was just pictures of ladies. It wasn't hardcore, right? So it was like compared to what people see now, it's so different. So I think that's where a lot of things come from, which is why everyone is hairless. It's why everyone does positions that look good for a camera angle, but not don't feel good. And so I guess people don't kiss because people in adult movies don't kiss each other, right? So that was my first thought when she started
I
saying
see.
it.
Well, that's interesting. You're saying that he's emulating the porn that he's watching because they're not kissing, so he stopped kissing.
She already said the other thing, right? She already said what she thinks it is. And the
Yeah.
issue is that whatever we consume, we become, right? You are what you eat. It's not just about food, but it's also about what you watch. So, you ever read a book about a serial killer and it's really scary, and then you walk around the house at night and you're a little more nervous than usual? Do you know what I mean?
Or
Does that ever happen to you?
scary movies, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Right. So
really read
they
serial killer
Okay,
books.
but either way, it affects you, even if it's for like a little while afterwards, right? There's an effect
Yeah,
where
yeah,
that would it normally affect us differently, right? If I read a
yeah.
book about the wife poisoning the husband, I give my wife the side eye for a week or two. I'm like, you know what I mean? Because it plants the seed. So that's how much things can influence you. And I think this is really, um, I just think it's so much bigger than we realize because we didn't experience this. Where most people's first experience is like something extreme, something
Yeah,
really hardcore.
right.
They don't like we went through a slower, and probably you went through a slower evolution than me because there was more technology when I was, of age, so I even encountered different stuff in the 90s. But
Right.
now it's like you can see at 6 years old, you can see your first penetration, right, in a movie. Like you can see crazy things. So I think people become very desensitized. And that's the same reason why I feel like there's a chance that this guy is next going to ask for, well, let's go more extreme. Like that's often the next step after this, which is, you know what? Oh, the reason I'm not kissing you is because we're not doing this. We have to go and do something like really outside what we normally do. And that is kind of what I think. I mean, so let's talk about the solution though. I mean, the solution is to just ask. That's where I would start with because there's another possibility. The second possibility is he's not kissing her because she's got a dead tooth or there's something on, you know what I mean?
So
I don't think
I
that's
don't
what
think
it
that's
is.
the case here because there's
I don't
it's
either, but I'm
a
just saying
lack
that's
of
the
connectedness. Yeah. So I think that the connectedness is the big thing, and I understand this. I used to be that way too. I mean, so after a while, when I was married for a number of years, sex was kind of boring and routine, and I started like imagining other people and everything to try to stay turned on. I don't do that anymore. I completely transcended all that maybe 15 years ago when I sort of discovered and started practicing nirvana sex, and the connection became everything, and it just became so great. But
Can
I'm,
you,
yeah.
I want to dial into that, but can you get the other person to want to do the oxytocin stuff, the deeper connection stuff? Like, can you, they have to want to do it, right? Don't, that's
Well,
like a
I
critical
believe she has a big
challenge.
advantage because, yeah, if the woman proposes something to a man, he's more likely to try it because men will try almost anything sexually. A woman asks him to do it, he'll just try it. It's much harder the other way. So, since this woman wants connectedness and eye contact, she's in a good position to get it. She could just say, I don't want to have sex with you. And when you're ready to look me in the eyes, when you're inside me, then we can try it again. And he'll do it. Really, it's not that hard. She can just work on one thing at a time. I think
Yeah.
everything follows from eye contact.
So there's this lesson when I was in college, they give you the sexual health talks the first day.
Yeah. Oh, in college.
And she
Okay.
said one of the things she talked about is that there was an incident where a man and a woman were sleeping together and the condom fell off the guy inside the woman. And
Sure.
she didn't, when she figured it out, she called this woman for help. And the woman's like, well, just ask the guy to grab it and pull it out. She's like, what? I can't ask him that. And
You
so
got to
she
go
went to the
fishing.
emergency. Well, she went to the emergency room to have the doctors
Jeez,
find it. So
that's ridiculous.
but
Ridiculous.
we have this, we'll be physically intimate before we'll be
Hmm.
platonically intimate, which that is kind of, or personally intimate, like emotionally intimate. I think that's one of the challenges is that we don't feel comfortable talking to the other person, just saying the truth. Like, why didn't she just say to him, hey, I don't feel like you're listening to me for me to enjoy it. There has to be these other elements. Or are you, she did say, are you thinking about other women? No guy's going to admit to that. At least he's smart enough to know no guy would ever admit to that. You got to be smarter than that. But she just has to say, listen, I'm feeling a disconnection from you. And we're going to be sleeping together a lot less unless we kind of take this head on. As soon as you say we're going to sleep together a lot less, you go, wait a minute.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
What's the other choice?
When
So
you're
yeah,
ready
I
to
like that.
look me in the
We
eye,
never,
let's do it again. Let's try it again. Until then, let's not.
yeah. Yeah. Look me in the eye when you apologize to me. Look me.
And
So
the other
that's
thing they
like
should do,
that we just
they should,
struggle to tell people what we actually think. Like she's like, oh, I can't tell him that it's this thing that I think he's like looking at dirty stuff. But yeah, I definitely think it's that he's picking up an influence somewhere. There's someone else influencing him, and I doubt it's his parents saying, "Hey, don't kiss during." Like I
but
don't
you're
think it's gonna.
right. But you're right. Whatever he's doing is stopping intimacy. You can have
Yeah,
sex without intimacy. So he's blocking out intimacy. And so there may be something that fundamentally with the relationship that he's not into. It may be the point of breaking up or whatever because he's
Yeah,
not really into her anymore. He's not going to
he
stop
might be
having sex with her, but he sure doesn't have to. He doesn't feel emotionally connected anymore.
he might be kissing someone else.
Yeah, could be.
Some
That's where
possibilities.
she's getting all the kisses. So this one, go ahead.
I've got one for you. I accidentally implied that my boyfriend is a loser. How can I fix this? Basically,
How do you accidentally imply someone's a loser?
because he lost his job a little while ago, but she's paying for everything, which she doesn't mind. But they're talking about going on a we're talking about going on a trip, and she's like, "Are you going to find another job so you can afford to pay for these tickets?" He's like, "Yeah, my parents will just pay for it." And then she said something that he interpreted as her thinking he's a loser, but also, I mean, he hasn't worked in like 4 months. He's not looking for a new job. That is kind of what a loser is, right? Like it's someone who doesn't aspire. It's not that he lost his job. It's that he's not
What's the
trying.
difference between a loser and a gigolo?
This is interesting. A gigolo is a male prostitute, right?
A gigolo would be someone who attaches to a woman who has money. Yeah, and basically is with her and she has money and he doesn't work. He just sort of services her needs in every way and that's it.
I think it's the difference between. This is tricky. Like, I mean, it's like, I would say it's a difference between an escort and a sugar baby, maybe.
I had a friend who was, he was about my age, and he was married to a woman who had a lot of money. Her family had a lot of money, and he had a big house, but he had no money. So he was in that situation where he was basically the guy without any money. She had all the money, so he's kind of in a certain role. But he made up for it because he worked in the family business. He worked for her father, for his father-in-law, and so forth. So, he didn't sit around. He maintained the respect that she wanted to have. I think that women want to have a man they can respect. The fact that she says, I accidentally implied this man's a loser, says that she doesn't respect him anymore. And I think that the fundamental for a man in a relationship is having respect from a woman. And if he's not getting respect, it's not a good relationship.
That's the number one indicator that a relationship's not going to work is disdain, which is the lack of respect.
Yeah.
So a sign that and here's the thing, he's not hearing what she's saying, which is that you're not choosing to move forward with your life and I am, which means we're going to drift apart. As in you want to stay in high school, let your parents pay for everything, and I want to go to the and she's got a job and she's
well, so my point is, if she wants to have a man that she maintains, like she's the client, he's the gigolo, that's fine. That's okay. I mean, sometimes in this day and age, a lot of men are so far behind women financially, and some women just want a guy even though he doesn't have anything, and so she could be okay with it. That's my point. She could just be reconciled. I like being with a guy. I like him in bed. I like his company. He's a loser. And that's fine. That's okay. She could be okay with that.
I think it's not about how much money you make. It's about you're moving forward in your life, and he's like just sitting at home watching video games. He's like frozen.
Right.
There's other things going on, and there's a lot of people now. I feel like there's a lot more neuroses going on, or everyone seems to self-diagnose a bunch of things. So this guy doesn't drive because he has like a specific fear about it. He has anxiety about driving, and like to me, that's a big red flag that you're already starting to have these like mental issues.
When you're not driving, it's a bit of a child pose because, someone's driving you like when you were a kid. It's like not being in charge. It's another way of having someone else be in charge. Not always, but usually.
I don't drive.
I don't drive either. I don't like driving.
Yeah, that's
Used
me
to.
too.
I did all the driving, and now my wife does all the driving, so it's different for me. Now, I know someone else, and they're a young couple, and she does all the driving because he's kind of too lazy and doesn't like to drive, and I feel like, that's kind of a problem.
My wife doesn't drive either. We always take a taxi everywhere or walk.
Right.
So that's what, but also like, exactly, I would much rather spend that time using my time more effectively than just spending time driving an hour or two and from everywhere. But I think that's a lot of it is exactly your approach. If I said, oh, why don't you drive? Because I'm afraid, that's a different thing. Yeah. It's interesting because you're not in control. Like you're more likely to get into an accident or whatever, because you don't have the ability to save yourself. If you see something coming, you can't you're not in control to solve the problem, which means maybe you don't believe in yourself. It's very interesting. So I just find like there's a lot of people that invent, like the number of people who've self-diagnosed themselves with mental diseases, and they like go on TikTok and they say, I have autism,
Oh yeah.
which is right. Or I have,
Bipolar is big now. The bipolar has been big for a while. You know, that's a
Yeah.
trendy one.
and every single ex-boyfriend has been diagnosed with narcissism. I was like, wow,
Sure.
it's like
Oh, narcissism. Oh, everyone's a narcissist. Oh my gosh.
That's
That's all I
like
hear today.
10% of people are psychopaths, and it's like, well, there's more people with neuroses than there are people. Like the numbers don't add up. So we're seeing people like now, especially because now we have a culture where people want to be known for what they have rather than what they've done. So it's like, how can I be special?
Well,
That's why
the
everyone's like
point
calling
is,
themselves
what do they call themselves?
neurodivergent. Like they've made a new name for it.
Oh,
And I don't mind that. I think the thing that throws me off is the self-diagnosis element. Like I've met so many people who self-diagnose themselves with different mental disorders. I'm like, no, it's kind of, you don't self-diagnose yourself with cancer, right? You don't self-diagnose yourself with other things. So it's like, well, there's this other element that's pretty important, which is you have a different disorder if you want to, you have Munchausen's if you actually want to give yourself a disease you don't have. Like that's what maybe these people all have, is the desire for attention through creating this, and it diminishes the people that actually have the problem, right? That's the problem I have with it. It's like, no, someone who actually has this issue is getting
Yeah.
ignored. People that want attention are pretending they have it. So
well, here's a question for you. So,
Yeah.
this is another woman. Or not, this is a guy. He says, so we're together like 10 years. We have, we have a little daughter, and certainly we've had ups and downs. My wife, she's not very comfortable with physical contact. I've always liked it. We've never been super sexual. I wish we had been, but we're just not. And then maybe a few weeks ago, she says, I'm not in love with you anymore. I'm not sure if I ever was. So, he writes, my whole world has come crashing down. I can't understand what's gone wrong. Is this fixable? Or is this just mean we just have to call it quits? And, the whole thought of being away from my daughter and all of that is horrible. It's all I can think of. What do you think?
So all the warning signs were there.
Yeah.
I don't like to be touched means I don't like to be touched by you. I was talking to someone about this today about showing up on time. I was like, listen, here's the question. Would they show up on time if the president was there, if they're meeting the president, or if they're meeting a celebrity, or if they're meeting their hero? It was their only chance they'd ever have to do it. They would find a way to be there on time. So it's actually how important you are gets factored in, because then they push its priorities affect that. So in the same way, this is another thing. A lot of people self-diagnose themselves as asexual or these other things, right?
In other words, she's asexual with him, but not asexual.
Huge difference between diagnosed, I have this, and I've just decided, and I've told you I have this. Very different. It's exactly the same idea, which is
Right.
there's a huge difference between someone has a real issue and someone has a self-diagnosis. So he interpreted it as, oh, she's just not that sexual. And it's like, dude, that was the warning that you ignored. So now he's in the situation. Now here's what he's hearing. He's surprised because he hasn't been paying attention. As soon as you said all that stuff, I knew where it was going. And I'm just waiting for her to break up, and then she's like, I'm gay, right? That could even be where this is going. She's going to find someone else she likes it.
Well,
Now,
that's
I
true.
get it, because he loves his kids and he wants his
I
kids
I never liked guys. I just never realized I always liked girls, Yeah.
was never in love with you.
Living a lie.
Yeah. Is a brutal thing to say, but it's probably true, right? And that she's offering him freedom. Like she's offering him he was already in a bad relationship with someone who didn't treat him right.
Right.
So he's finally getting the kick he needs to move out of his marriage was a friend zone.
Yeah.
So his life is going to get better. It's going to be bad for a while, and then it's going to get better.
Yeah.
I understand.
And he can work things out with her where he sees the little girl all the time, and so they're not going to, not let him see his child.
I don't think they have to move out.
That's a common thing today. People are not moving out. They're breaking up without moving out. It's too
Yeah, because
expensive to move out.
so I think that like there's not even that pressure for him to stop. They can just be roommates.
Yeah.
I think the wife wouldn't mind that. Obviously, because he's still in love with the wife, would, and that would be painful for him.
He just has to start dating again.
Yeah, that's the thing is that what a lot of people do is they turn off parts of their personality. That's why people go, "Oh my gosh, it's so hard to go back into the dating pool," because you haven't talked to a stranger in 10 years, right? You've let that part of your personality atrophy. You don't have to go out flirting, but that part of yourself, you have to, as a man, stay dangerous, as in your wife has to see that other women are attracted
Yeah.
to you.
Right.
I talk about this all the time. Whenever we're at the gym, my wife and I are always discussing who's the most attractive woman in the gym. It comes up every single time. If I go to the gym by myself, there's a guarantee that my wife will show up to see if I'm up to some shenanigans. It's like everyone at the gym knows me. The gym is like 300 yards from my house, right? So it's like, oh, never. Certainly not at the gym I go to. But I'll always say things like, I think, why does that woman keep working out next to me? And I'll move. And then because the gym is so small, the woman eventually will end up working out near me. And that plants that seed. So I'm not doing anything except for going, I'll ask that question like, is it just me or does that woman keep looking at me? And once you say that, right, it creates this thing and it creates a sense of danger. It's not real. I would never I never would talk to the woman, right? Ever. But it creates this allure and allows my wife to say, oh, other women are still, you don't want to be with someone that no one's attracted to, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
you want to
this
be
guy
with somebody that everybody wants. You want to be with a girl everybody wants.
can't
She
let
wants
that
to be with a
go.
guy that all the girls want. Of course.
Yeah. So for women, it's like the saying goes, when a man's friend has a great girlfriend, he goes, I want to meet a girl just like her. When a woman's friend has a great guy, she goes, I want him. You have to have that element. That's how women are attracted. So part of attraction for women is seeing that other women are attracted to you. So don't let that part. That's the difference. People think I'm talking about cheating, which I'm not. I would never flirt
And you can
with another.
fake this. You can fake it. And that's what you're talking about. It's a little game that you're playing. You're not really talking to another woman or flirting with her,
Oh
but
no,
you're
never.
pretending that she's flirting with you. Your wife picks up on that. And then she gets a little twinge of jealousy, and then she wants you a little bit more, and she gets a little hot and bothered for
Just
you.
reminds
It's
her
very nice.
that other
Very
women
nice.
still find me attractive. Another
Yeah.
one that I do is when we're driving down the road, riding in the back of a taxi, I'll wave. My wife and I be sitting in the car, I'll wave, and she's like, she'll turn around. Who are you waving at? I'm like, oh, just someone I know. And there's no one there. There's never anyone there. But it's the same thing.
Hilarious.
It's reminding her that there could be someone who's interested in me, and like she got
Okay.
really
Here's
jealous.
My formula for this guy, if he wants to stay with this woman and she is open as being okay with him, what they do is they have to build this hormone in the brain called oxytocin, that is the hormone of love and connection. And that means they just have to like agree to like do naked cuddling every day for like 15 minutes, like in the morning or at night, and 2 or 3 weeks. And then, he can say, let's try it for 3 weeks. If you still feel the same, then we'll break up. Most of the time, people don't feel the same after 2 or 3 weeks, because she already liked him at the beginning because they're together. It reignites things and gets them feeling really, really good about each other again. So I don't think this is necessarily something that's not fixable. I've seen it fixed quite often. Now, if she says she won't agree to do that, she won't do the naked cuddling, then it's done. Then it's over.
Let me ask you a question. How long between when she started thinking about it and when she said it to him? Like
Probably years,
sometimes-
I would think. That's
the
years.
thing. Sometimes women, there's 2 years where she's been thinking about divorcing you, and then she finally says it. So there's actually,
Yeah.
for him, it just happened, and for him, it's 2 years ago. That's the challenge, is that he's so late to this event because we wait so long to build up the courage or whatever, the wherewithal to take to the other person when it's over. That's what I wonder about, is like, is there a way for the guy is there a way he could have noticed this sooner, or noticed when she was starting to make that decision? Or do you think that 2 years means
of
that by
course he could
now
have. Of course
already
he could
dead?
have. Because he noticed that she wasn't very sexual. I'm assuming that she was more sexual at the beginning, like we all are, right? Classic honeymoon period in the relationship. You can't keep your hands off each other for a while, then that changes. I think that he should have pressed it when she wasn't being sexual and wasn't comfortable with physical contact. I think he should have not accepted that. And I don't really get men who accept a non-sexual relationship either. There's no excuse for a non-sexual relationship. If you're in a romantic relationship, you have to have physical act very frequently. That's what keeps us together. So as soon as she was not being so interested, he should have pressed it at that point. He was probably afraid to.
This is a really good thing you're bringing up. I believe this is a variation of escalation anxiety, which is that I don't want to risk losing what I have by asking for what I want. So he's like, I don't want to, we're so afraid of going back to being single.
Yeah, right.
That we'll take such a bad experience and we'll let things get really bad.
Just rationalize it away. Well, she's going through a difficult period. It'll be fine. He probably told himself all these stories that kind of got her off the hook.
Postpartum in that last 7 or 8 years. You can't sleep with someone for like 6 or 12 years after having a baby.
No, of course not.
So you create these stories to hide.
And you can't sleep with them when they're pregnant, right? That doesn't work.
Well, that's gross.
Of course.
Don't be gross.
Well, there's benefits to it too, but
and the baby sleeps in the room, so of course you can't do anything until the baby turns 18. Moves to their own bedroom.
Yeah, so there's all these endless excuses not to do it, basically. And if you're a man and you put up with that, you accept that, you're making a big mistake.
So one of the things you have to do is bring it up the first time it happens. This is the lesson here. This is the same for the friend zone. The reason when I was single I never got friend zone is I would just say something very early on. Say, listen, I'm attracted to you. We could be friends, but I just want you to know that I want to be more than friends. I'm just putting that on the table. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to date me. You don't have to tell me you have feelings. You don't even have to respond. I just don't want there to be any ulterior. And at first it sounds like I'm being the creep, but in fact I'm being the opposite, which is it's much better.
You're being honest instead of the guy that secretly wants the woman and is hiding it and pretending to be his friend when he's really
waiting for that moment,
saying more.
Like most guys
creepy.
in the friend zone, right? They endure it for years, waiting for their moment.
So he was in the friend zone with his wife, is what you're saying, for a long time, basically.
And he didn't say anything the first time. So the first time it happened, and this applies to women too. So if you're dating a guy, and he says, come with me to a football game, you just, on the very first day, you go, yeah, that's not my thing. I'll go with you and we'll have fun, but otherwise you can end up, and I know when this has happened to.
Yeah, I got season tickets or whatever it is.
Yeah, I know when the season tickets thing has happened to. And they're like, what? And now, even worse if it's like basketball, which has like 180 games a year or something. Now every other day literally you're going to something you don't like. So the same thing is that you have to say it very early, or if something happens in the bedroom, you go, what are you doing? I don't like that.
Yeah, things can happen. Like she could get something with her girl parts, yeast infection or something like that, or, anything. But then you could do other things. You do other things until that gets better. You don't just accept nothing. That's ridiculous. It's always got to be sexual.
I've got one that's pretty cool. Men, how hard do you try to remain physically attractive to your partner? Someone asked me why I cared so much about my hair and they said, you're already married. Your wife is going to love you no matter what your hair looks like. And I responded, I want my wife to find me hot as F. I want her to see me, and even if she didn't know me or love me, she would still want to rip my clothes off. I want to try hard to be physically attractive to my wife. So God forbid anything happen to her, she gets knocked on the head and she loses her memory. But if that happens, I want her to see me as a hot stranger. And I like, here's the final part. He says, are you guys in the same boat, or am I rowing alone?
I don't think I'm in the same boat.
You don't want your wife to find you attractive?
I do, but I don't find that as a man, it's not so much physical. I mean, it is somewhat, but there's all the other things. What kind of a provider I am, what kind of a father to our children, how other people want me, like you were saying earlier. There's a lot of other elements besides, for men, I don't think the physical part of it is that great of an element as it is with women.
I think physically is where men slack off the first, though.
Yeah.
So a lot of men will use what you're saying, I think, and then go, oh, well, I'm working so hard at work, I can let my weight get out of control. I can stop being clean. I'm so busy I can only shower every other day. Now it's every 3 days. I care what my hair looks like. I think that's what he saw. I think that's more
All right.
common.
Well, that's not right. That's not good.
I think that a lot of guys slack off into other areas. The
Yeah.
first area where I think you start to slip is you go, I'm married, so it doesn't matter so much anymore. I can put on the weight, and you go, she only cares about the money. She won't care about the body. I think that it's just that's part of it. I don't think it's about so much physical appearance as like an element of cleanliness
Taking
and
care of yourself.
yeah, there's an element of
Yeah.
so I do think this is something I believe is that you have to, the idea here that you should always be trying to be attractive to your partner is a good one. We talk a lot about how you want your wife to know that other people are attracted to you, but you also just want to be putting effort into your appearance, your diet, your all the things that kind of go together. Because so we know someone. I want you to think about this as introduced. We know someone who just went through a divorce. Right after the divorce, what did she do? Lose a ton of weight. She's at the gym all the time. It's very common that we wait until afterwards to fix the thing that would have saved the thing from breaking.
Right.
So you could, most people, what are they, after they get divorced, one of the first things they get is a gym membership because, oh, I need to be attractive to get a new person. Well, why didn't you? There's just something to think about. Why didn't you feel this way about your partner? Like I'm, as you know, very fastidious about my health. I weigh myself every day. I'm constantly doing all the things I can. I'm trying to be more physically attractive as well. So that's part of my regime. But it's all, I mean, I really only care if my wife finds me attractive. Like, I don't care if other people do, but it's good for her to know that I'm already doing the thing now that I would do if I got divorced, right? So might as well do it now for my wife to be attracted to me rather than wait till I'm divorced for someone else to be attracted to me and like have to start over.
I think we're all on a journey somewhere. I don't know where we're going, but we're going somewhere. So I think a man on a journey is very attractive to a woman. A man who's trying to go somewhere and trying to aspire and be something. I think that's critical. So if I see someone who says, I want to better myself, I want to work out more, I want to get in the gym, I also want to learn how to play tennis, I want to start taking scuba lessons, I want to do this, I want to do that. I think that's attractive and that's very nice. I think it's a problem when you're a man and you're insecure about your appearance and you think that you have to work out and do all these things to deserve the love of a woman. I think that's a mistake. A lot of men will say, if you're having trouble, finding a woman, you need to hit the gym, you need to do this, you need to do that. I don't really agree with that. I think that's just another way of expressing insecurities. I think if you're having trouble meeting women, what you want to do is you want to get better at meeting women and the skills involved in meeting women. The self-improvement that you want to do is going to be more like flirting and dating skills and conversational skills. Because I think that otherwise as a man, you could end up just feeling like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And meanwhile, you don't have anybody. You're alone. Always thinking that you need to get more muscles or hit the gym harder or diet more or get, more ketosis or whatever it is. I think that's a mistake that a lot of men are making, especially young men.
That's interesting. See, I think of the gym component as you need to try to improve every area of your life, and that improving dating is just part of it. And also, once you start going to the gym, it kind of affects your testosterone levels and improves your self-confidence. That's part of it, is like you want to feel more comfortable with your body and feel attractive, because if you feel attractive and other people find you attractive, I think that's the core value of it.
But
yeah,
you
if you're
can go
going
directly to it. You can be more confident now. You don't have to wait for the gym. You don't have to.
I know. I just think it's part of a component of an overall self-improvement project, right? Improve your clothes, go to the gym, shower more often, improve your grooming. I just think it's all connected.
What you want to do is practice meeting women, even if it's the person at the coffee place. Have eye contact with her longer than is comfortable. Make sure that you have conversation and learn, get better at practicing conversation and all that type of thing. And you can get more confident by just acting more confident. I just don't really appreciate all this stuff that tells the guy you have to do A, B, C, D, E to become attracted to women. I'm going to bullshit to that. And you know what? If I wasn't married, I would find women and I wouldn't have to go hit the gym. I'd be, I'd just work on my skills a little bit. I'd be meeting women all the time.
Okay.
I don't think that you just have to step here and step there in order to achieve your goal. You can achieve it without that.
Okay. So,
Go ahead. Do you have another one?
do you know about the orange challenge that's going around on TikTok right now?
No, I don't know what that is. What's the orange challenge?
This was a girl will start recording herself and she'll have an orange and she'll try to get her boyfriend to peel it for her. And the
Oh,
point is to get him to peel it even though she could, just to prove.
that she can
It's like,
control him?
see, she says he's proving his love, but you short circuited the entire. You figured it out in the first sentence.
Yeah. It's
Exactly. And
control.
it's
It's a
like,
control game. Yeah.
yeah. So I wanted to talk about that because
Well,
there's some
um,
videos that got
yeah.
viral. The guy's like, no, I'm not doing that. You can do it for yourself. I respect you as a woman, so I believe in your power to take care of yourself. You guys have fought for 100 years for this right. I believe that you can open this orange. I believe in you wholeheartedly with my whole heart. I have total faith in your ability to do this.
Well, you
And
know
she,
what? I would say if it's just she needs help with her orange, that's a different story. But you're saying it as a
it's a
game,
game.
right? I would say I'm happy to your orange as long as you don't mind going on your knees and helping me out a certain way. You know, then
Wow,
we can
that's
both get
very.
what we want. Yeah.
Now we can't
Well, it's
post
a
this
game.
TikTok anymore. Yeah,
It's a
it's.
game. We're playing a game. That's the point. If
I
it's a
think
game, play the game.
relationship tests, right? All these things that you do to see how the other person reacts are anytime you're doing something for an
The problem
ulterior.
is she turned the video on. That's the trouble. If it was without the video, without the voyeurism and the performance aspect to it, it's fine. But the minute the video goes on and then she's saying, "Oh, Matt, would you come and peel my orange? You know, look at the camera." The minute that
Yeah,
happens, it's no
yeah,
longer
yeah. It
about a
changes
relationship.
everything.
It changes
No,
everything.
I have no interest in being in someone else's TikToks.
Yeah.
This brings me to this next one, which is
Okay.
this guy's been with his wife for 18 years. They've got two kids, and now he works full time, come home from work. As soon as he comes from work, he has to help with the kids because she's been stuck with them all day, even though they both go to
Right.
school.
Okay.
Now she has started sending him TikToks with videos that say things like "Your wife is your partner, not your mom," and then it boils down to men need to help out around the house more,
Hmm.
help with the kids, pick up themselves, and all this other stuff. Now, my thought is
Hmm.
like the second. I mean, you want to talk about something that will get me to break up with my wife? She started sending me TikToks with subtle hints.
Ugh. It's
Like, yeah,
awful.
I already am like, my kids aren't allowed to use TikTok. Like, no way. Like, I know how that stuff works. All it does is it creates these. Next, my wife's going to try and get me a peel an orange on camera. Like, you know what I
Do
mean?
you
So,
think that people who are romantic partners should leave notes for each other like that? Essentially, it's a note, video, note, whatever. Do you think they should,
oh,
instead of just talking to you, should they just write it down or do a video about it and show that video to you?
so I think there's a time and a place for a note. This one isn't it. For example, in certain points in my marriage, I've written down a list of things that like need to be fixed. So then my wife has
Yeah.
a reference.
Okay.
No.
I
Example
mean,
like,
you're saying, oh, you need to fix you. You're not saying she needs to fix. You're saying around the house these things need. You're just talking about making a list of
give
stuff
me an
that has to be
example.
done.
I'll
Okay.
give you a really simple example. We have a front gate that's like a really thick door, not a gate that closes. And that's closed all the time. So that
Mm-hmm.
means the front door to our house is open all day long. But I want the front door closed when it gets dark outside so the mosquitoes don't fill our house. This is something I've had to bring up dozens of times so that then I eventually will write. I haven't done it for this one, but this is the type of thing where I would write down a note and then put it next to the door to remind
It's kind of
people.
like women always say, "Oh, you not putting the toilet seat down." So then she writes a note over the
Well,
toilet seat down, right?
that's fair
So
because I know women who've fallen into the toilet because of that, so I understand that's reasonable, right? Like I wouldn't want to fall into a toilet either or get stuck. I know a woman that happened to. She fell in and couldn't get out. So it's not same thing, yes. But this one of whenever you bring in an outside influence to your marriage, right? Which is like, oh, someone else who doesn't know us is telling us that you aren't helping around the house enough. Every time we get one of these, right, it ends in a divorce. Every time we get one of these questions, at the end of it, the guy's like, and that's why we're divorced.
well, she's trying to get him to change his behavior, and she doesn't want to talk to him about it directly because she doesn't want him to react. She just wants to send him a note or a video, and then he can just change, and it's a lot easier for her than actually having to interact with him.
Right. So here's what's
I,
crazy is that usually when this happens, and comes in later, he starts talking about, he goes, the thing that frustrates me is that the house is always a mess. The kids are always dirty. There's all these problems. She says she's busy all day, but there's no signs of it, right?
Right.
And that's the thing. I work 8 hours a day. I only am in one room in the house, right? So my mess, like most of my mess is contained to this room. When I make a mess, it's usually in this room. It's not the whole house. If there's a mess in other rooms, that wasn't me. So he's like, I'm holding up mine to the bargain. I keep the room I'm in clean. I do my things. But that's exactly it. I think that's the point, is that when people start doing this, it's always, almost always, the person who's complaining with the other person is the one who's not living up to their part of the deal anyways. So
Yeah.
I, meeting before this one, my wife came in and took the drinks I had and changed them out for new ones because these have been in here since this morning, 12 hours ago. So she brought me 2 new waters and a hot chocolate. And the person I was meeting was like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "We're partners,
Of
right?"
course.
That's part of my wife's the thing she's in charge of. If I wasn't on a meeting, I would do it myself. But she's like helping
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
I didn't command her to do it. She came in and noticed and would help me.
Yeah.
But I think that's important. You have to have a delineation of labor that's efficient. My wife can't work and make the same money I do, so she does other things that bring value to the marriage, which is to help me have more time to do meetings like this and those other things. And I think that what he's seeing here, and we've seen this happen last week, right, where someone's like, "Oh, my wife wanted me to help around the house more, so I took less hours, and now we have less money," and she's shocked. And that's all connected. People often get excited by something they see online. Like, I don't try to change my wife. That's what I think. I
Yeah.
think that's what I'm going to talk about. A lot of people want to change their partners
Yeah.
into not even another person, but into like an imaginary person. He's like, "Oh, this is the ideal of the perfect wife." There's a lot of stuff I don't like about my wife. A lot of habits she has, like that aren't perfect. But I don't try and change them, right? I don't try and change. She likes horror movies, which are too scary for me. I don't try and change that about her. It just when she watches one, I put on headphones and read a book facing the other direction next to her. That's our solution. And there's a way through, and maybe there's other solutions as well. But this idea that you try and change your partner, like if your partner's not cleaning the house enough, it's very hard. As he found, he can't get his wife to do it. People don't really change. And you have to either accept the person or end the relationship. You can tell them, if you don't change, I'm going to leave you, but that's an ultimatum and it very rarely works. But if you just come from a place of like, listen, I can't be in this type of situation, you're in control right now to decide if our relationship is worth saving by you keeping the house clean.
Yeah. Good.
So it's an interesting struggle we have now. Like, my wife is a housewife. My wife's job is awesome. When she goes to the gym, she doesn't have to watch the clock like I do. I'm like, oh, I have to be done in 20 or 30 minutes. I
Yeah.
gotta work. Where she can be there for a really long time because she has a
know.
different pressure. I
That's
was
probably
like,
why women live longer than men, don't you think? Like they just have a lower stress life ultimately.
yeah, that's so. This wife has it really good, but it doesn't sound like she appreciates it. And this guy's just in a
No.
bad situation.
Yeah, I
And-
know people in that same situation. Exactly that situation. So yeah, I mean, let's another one here. So my girlfriend told me that she's sexually open and she might want to have sex with other guys. She asked me how I would feel.
Love it.
Yeah. She had said when we got married, when we met rather, she had said that she wanted monogamy. She said that polygamy is not my cup of tea. But
Wait,
recently,
stop.
recently,
That came up on a first date. Like,
well,
hey, what's your
they
favorite
started
color?
dating.
Polygamy. Like, come on.
But recently she said, hey, there's this idea of the free pass. Like, how do you feel about me having a free pass? Let's say to sleep with a celebrity if I got the opportunity. How would you feel? She says to the guy. And the guy's saying, well, I don't know, man. I don't really like it. It's unacceptable to me.
Oh,
I think
really?
sex is a sacred connection between two people who love each other. She says, well, that's not how I look at it. She says, I separate emotion from sex. I think that a person could be just a sex toy. They don't have to be emotional, and it's fine. So then we talked about threesome, something that I'm also not open to. She said she would do a threesome, but only if it's another man, not with a woman.
Oh my gosh.
And I just feel like this isn't for me at all. And she says, I'm the one that's controlling. She says, I'm the one with weird boundaries and weird expectations, that I shouldn't be, quote, taking away the option for her. So what do you think? This is my
So
future wife, the future mother of my children. Am I
wait, they're
crazy?
not married yet?
Not yet. They're going to be.
Get
He says,
out.
I need to know
Get out
what's
of the
going on
house.
here.
Killer's downstairs. Why are you asking us a question? Get out of the house. So, because she's the first problem is that she's using some very manipulative language, and the names for
A
these
free
things all
pass?
change. Well, not that you're limiting me, you're holding me back, you're standing between me and freedom. So my wife, we've talked about this before. My wife has said, "Well, what if
You can't
I
have marriage and freedom at the same time, right? It's a completely different
No,
idea.
no. My wife is allowed to sleep with any guy she wants to. He just has to die immediately afterwards. As long as she Black Widows him. What?
That's your
I
deal. Did you have this discussion when you first started dating?
no, that's weird. That's too early. But it happened in the marriage. She was because you always know you hear about someone cheating and then you talk about it, right? And she goes, "Well, what if I did that?"
Yeah.
I said, "Listen, I don't mind if you've slept with another guy while we're married, but I can't have a guy walking around that slept with my wife. So as long as something happens to him, something horrible." And I said, "'Cause listen, if you don't do it, I will."
So she
So
should bite his head off after they have intercourse, right? Like the
yeah,
Black Widow does.
and I think
Yeah.
it's very. And I go, if there's a guy, and that because you said he's only a physical toy, which means you have no emotional connection, which means you shouldn't
Well,
feel any
she's
remorse.
this is a very interesting thing because the woman is saying that. Usually, we always think men are able to separate sex from emotion, but the guy's saying, "I can't do that. I don't feel that way. I feel like it's a sacred connection between two people who love each other. I don't see that there's any ability to have sex without the emotion. It's completely inseparable." She says, "Oh no, no, no. You could just be a sex toy.
Well,
It's absolutely fine. There's no
does she?
connection necessarily between emotion and sex. Completely different."
So does she make? I feel like is she closing her eyes during sex? Is she not making eye contact? She's the one who doesn't want to kiss. So I think that she warned him very early on by bringing up polygamy on the first date.
Well, they didn't say the first date, but isn't it common for people early on to discuss their goals in a relationship to some degree? I mean,
Yeah, but for someone to use a word like polygamy early on means they've thought of polygamy.
yeah.
Have you ever said to your wife, "I'm not really into polygamy," ever? 'Cause I've never said that to my wife. It's never come up.
No, no.
That's
I think that this woman is watching a lot of porn and probably, how do I put it politely, pleasuring herself with porn, and she's got really into this whole deep cycle, and it gets more and more extreme. And now she thinks she wants those things in her life because her brain is desensitized to the wonderfulness
think-
of ordinary sex.
I think for once it's not that. I I think she was already a swinger before this guy, and she was already doing all of this.
She
stuff.
was telling him what he wanted to hear at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I think
she
she-
kind of felt like a resistance to the polygamy idea. So she goes, "Oh no, I want monogamy. I'm not interested in so
Yeah.
so then." But she never
Gross.
felt that way, right? She was just telling him what he wanted to hear.
It's like when a woman's like, "I hate giving blowjobs." Like, yeah, I hate getting them, right? Like, I think that that's what I think is happening. I think in this particular, my suspicion is that she was already up to this stuff. That maybe she'd had a boyfriend who brought her into the lifestyle, and she was like dating this guy. She realized he's a vanilla guy. It was like, oh, this guy's not into that stuff.
So I think we're in a culture like you're in a culture where you're on this tropical island in some country. Several other countries are like this, where they go, as a man, if you need to visit a prostitute, that's okay. Just as long as it's just about the mechanics of it, you need to blow off some steam, takes the pressure off your wife who may not have the high drive that she used to have. So now you get your needs taken care of. As long as you're good with the kids and you're the provider, it's fine. That's the way they are in some of the Asian cultures and in France. But I don't think that, and that's how she wants to view things. She wants to have him view things that way.
No, I mean, she wants to have a threesome with two men. That's a hop, skip, and a jump away from she wants to watch him with another man. Like, I feel like she's gatewaying him, as you will. Like, first of all, I'll just sleep with other guys. You won't know about it now, because that's a jump to I want you to watch another man, right? So that's a big jump. First,
She wants him to watch her doing it with another guy. Is that what you're saying? That's what she
Well,
wants?
that's what a threesome is, isn't it? A threesome with two men is the guy's going to be.
I
doing
guess one
stuff.
guy watches her having sex with another guy, right? Her
Well,
husband's
it
watching
depends
this.
on how you divide it up. Usually, like you
Yeah.
go, I'll take the top half, you take the bottom half.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
I guess, but it also could be like
It could be participating or watching, right? We don't know.
no, it's
What
not
she wants to
watching. She
do.
would call that something else. It's definitely
It's
participating.
participating. Okay.
The question
Okay.
is whether or not she wants the two men to touch each other, which she probably does. So
Right.
I mean, I told you at the beginning, get at it. As soon as a person says, "Oh, I'm not into that," right? It's like that's a sign he should have figured that out early on and gotten out of there as soon as she mentioned polygamy, but he should break up with her right now and get out of there. They're so incompatible that the fact that she's calling marriage restrictive when it's like I'm sure she's the one who wanted the marriage. She was trying to be
Well,
someone
she felt that mindset was controlling and that
yeah,
he is taking away an option for her.
see,
So that's
yeah, see that language doesn't come from pornography. That language comes from polygamy
pop
TikTokers.
psychology. Pop
No, no,
psychology.
it comes from like the
Oh,
polygamy
the
world, like people
the
that are in
forums,
the
the
lifestyle.
forums and stuff that they're on, right? The
Yeah,
polygamy forums.
yeah, because
Oh yeah, yeah,
I've known a lot
yeah.
of people that's their lifestyle, and so that's where I think that's the language I think that's because she's not
They probably
using
have vocabulary in those forums like a normie or something like, oh, you're married to a normie, you should have the
no,
talk. They probably have
no,
words for everything.
yeah, the word is vanilla. I used it.
Oh,
That's
vanilla.
the
Okay,
word.
got it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
what they call it.
you're married to a vanilla. Yeah. Okay.
That
Okay.
person's vanilla. Like
Yeah.
they're not gonna let
What
you
does he know?
worse.
He's
They
limiting
don't
you.
want.
He's trying to
And
take away your options.
she's acting like it's normal to want to have a second guy there. Like two guy, one girl threesome is not the normal version of a threesome. Okay, it's the less
Well,
common version of
it
it.
doesn't interest me. If I was going to have a threesome, I would rather have another woman. I wouldn't do it with another man. I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in that.
I mean, it depends if the guy's like really cool and we can watch the game together.
Yeah. Okay. There could
You
be
start
some,
what you
or
want to
maybe
start.
he's an incredibly beautiful guy, and and even though I'm straight, I go, well, I mean, I make exceptions.
Yeah, it's like, well, what if he's really cool and then we both decide not to do the whole sex thing, meaning just like go out together and you just stayed home by yourself? There's ways you can make it seem unappealing to her. And like what, or you could say like, yeah, but I would love to do that, but I'm worried I'll be more attracted to him than you.
Yeah, that's right. I really worry because I'm
You
not
can
really sure about my
figure
own
out.
sexuality. So, God, it wouldn't take that much for me to like, this is off the rails here. So we don't want that. That's hilarious. Well, what's the next question?
You're gonna love this one. Okay, I'm 18, girlfriend's 19, been together a little over a year, and I'd like to tell her that I want to have sex less often. She wants to do it 3 or 4 times a day, and it's
Yeah,
just too much. I can't keep up with her physically, and she gets
yeah,
really mad at me.
yeah.
And she says that, oh, I guess you're not attracted to me, or I guess I'm not good enough for you. And I'm like, it's just so funny. Because I've been here. This is me early in my relationship with my wife. I'm grasping at straws here. I'm not trying to move forward. I just, how am I supposed, like, I just physically, I'm drained. I look like I've been hit by a
Store,
fire. Like, I'm thirsty.
drain. Well,
I can't feel my
this is
foot.
why God invented Nirvana sex. You could have it for hours a day. She can have as many orgasms as she wants. You have it, and it's so pleasurable and wonderful. And that's why we could do it a couple hours a day. And I always
I
tell people
mean,
this. I go, my wife doesn't have a high drive either. She has no drive, but that doesn't matter.
yeah, but you don't think 3 or 4 times a day this guy is like in physical, his body just can't do it.
He
Like,
just can't come 3 or 4 times. He could have
no,
sex for hours.
it's sore, it's chafing.
No, he's not doing it right. He's just too
Well,
much.
that's the thing is that yeah, I mean, you got to like put cocoa butter on your bits. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but he's also like, listen, I have a job, I have other obligations to take up a certain amount of time a day. I just don't have the bandwidth. I get that.
I don't
So,
really get why it's so hard to understand for her. Like the guy doesn't want to have sex 3 times or 4 times a day. So what's so hard to understand about that? Like
this is something I
it's
dealt with.
reasonable. It's reasonable.
When I was, yeah, early on in my relationship with my wife, she was just way more than me. Her libido was way too high. And
Yeah.
the way she lets me know is that she'll just grab it and yank on it. Okay.
Tiger by the tail.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's what I always think of as tiger by the, and that's what it feels like because I use the word yank because I don't want you to think pull, which has a possibility of being slow or gentle. I want you to think of like,
It's not very seductive, really, is it? I mean,
it's a clear
it's
message.
it is
No,
clear.
it's 'cause I was like, listen, not only are we I can't physically keep up with you, but your starting point is it hurts. Like now I really don't want to do it. So, I mean, has that stopped? No, because
I
she
always
yanked
felt
him.
when I was younger, like when I was a teenager, all the girls wanted to do it so much more than I did. Like they were just crazy about it compared to me. I was just finding my way, and they just always trying to seduce me. And I mean, I don't think it was just me, but
Yeah,
they were
women
just
have.
crazy.
I
Even at
think
13 or 14, they were. I mean, the girls were very aggressive.
yeah, I never had to deal with that being not a handsome guy, but I do think that this it's a tough situation to be in because people act like there's something wrong with him when he's like, listen,
Yeah.
it's
How can you
killing
turn down
me.
sex from a woman? And I will say this: um, women don't like being turned down for sex, and it could kill a relationship in a way. It
Yeah.
depends
You're
on
not
how
what? I'm
far
not
it's
good enough for
gone.
you. You're
But
not attracted to me. She's already
yeah,
saying that. And it's like, well,
yeah,
it's not like we haven't had sex for weeks. It's just been like 45 minutes.
yeah.
I didn't lose interest in you in the last 45 minutes. The guy's like, I'm so dry, I can't cry anymore. I don't have tears. Like,
But he should learn Nirvana sex. That he could keep up with her. He could do it for hours and hours every day.
right.
No
But
more
what
problem.
about the
No
other
soreness. No
option of
problem.
just like going to a normal
No.
pace of one time per day or two times per day, even? How do you tell
Yeah,
the other?
I had a girlfriend earlier on. Like this is when I was an adult. She wanted to do it multiple times a day too, and I thought it was too much. But I think now that I know what I do now, I would be fine with it. At the time, I felt like this guy. It's too
Yeah,
draining.
I mean, so what I told my wife, I was like, listen, you're killing me. I said, a man has only so many orgasms in his life, and you should, if you use them all up now, I'll die a lot sooner. I said, do you want to be all alone when I die? So let's spread these out a little bit. I think you just have to make it clear that it's a physical limitation, not a personal attack. It's just because she's interpreting it already of like, oh, you don't want to
It's
do it
always
because
personal. It's always personal. Oh, you're not
I
attracted to me
probably just
anymore. You want someone else. You're tired of me.
well,
Da,
my
da, da, da.
I told you for like 7 or 8 years, my wife thought I had a second family, and I
Yeah.
was it's such a big idea to have about someone, and I was like, of all the things you think I'm up to, why that? Such a second family means not only am I sleeping with someone else, I have kids with them and I have responsibilities and I have to do secret stuff with the money to support two families. It's a huge amount of work. When I think about the work of a second family, like it almost gives me a second heart attack. Like, oh my gosh, so much
I
effort.
know.
And oh, how
I
fun.
know. I
Both
know.
I'm sleeping on the couch at both houses. Like
That's
all
all
of
the
that.
negatives of without the positives. If you're going to have another relationship, why not just have it with a single woman and just fool around? Just have some fun. Why would you want to have a whole family and make a big deal about it? You already have
Exactly. I
that.
mean, all of the complexity of like, oh, which kid's game am I going to go to today? Or what if my two kids don't realize they're both my kids and they meet each other and fall in love like happens in TV all the time?
I
So
think it's men that can't say no. They kind of have to accommodate and they just agree and they fall into something. And it's easier to lie than it is to ever tell the truth. Yeah, well, here's the thing. My girlfriend and her friend, they're acting very intimate with each other. They claim that they're just friends.
oh,
Okay. At what point is a girl friendship cheating? Okay, so here's a little more color on that. I was friends with this girl, let me hang out with one of her other female friends a couple times. I grew closer with the first girl. Her friend starts to get jealous that we're going to go in a relationship. And the friend would invite herself to our hangouts, brag about how much closer she was, with the girl that I really liked. And this really bothered me. And I talked to my girlfriend about it. She says, you know what? It's just girl love. You just wouldn't understand as a man. And I want to believe her. Then her friend told me, her friend said, oh, we've kissed on the lips, actually. Blah, blah, blah. So, what's going on? Is this just girl love? Is this cheating? Am I stupid to be jealous?
so when I was in my mid 20s, I dealt with this. So I was on and off dating a girl whose best friend was a lesbian woman who was so into her. And she was
Hmm.
like, no, but she was in the friend zone, right? And that's what may be happening here. This was my experience. But the girl would say things like,
Yeah,
oh, I just wish I could keep her in a giant jar in my basement. And I was like, wait, what?
you could. You can.
That's, I
Might
mean,
have
yeah, you should have put
might go
holes
to
in the,
prison for it, but
because when, if I said that about a woman, people would be like so horrified. So sometimes we say,
yeah,
oh, just love, you can say crazy stuff. I think for women, I think women A
Oh, she
woman can,
gets a free pass, right? We're talking about that. She gets a free pass to talk about that because she's female, right?
yeah, that's what kind of happens. It felt like, because I was like, if I said that about a woman, people are like, oh, we better
Yeah,
really
they
take a
go,
close look at this guy, because it's a horrifying
yeah,
thing to say.
yeah. Of course it is.
So you have to. There's a possibility here that your girlfriend has a girl in the friend zone. It's one possibility, because that's what I experienced, and that she kisses the girl, and it's not a big deal to her, but it's a big deal to the other girl. Because women sometimes do that, where the women are a little bit more casual about kissing each other, and there's a huge difference in kissing on the lips and kissing with tongue and whatever, right? So it could be like, oh, we just do a smack. It's not a big deal.
The
To the
friend is
girl.
trying to get him jealous of this girl. She
The
says,
friend,
"Oh, I
yeah,
kissed
sorry,
your
the friend
girlfriend."
100% wants to sleep with his girlfriend. 100%. So that's
Yeah,
for
hundred
sure.
percent. There's no question.
I don't think his girlfriend
It's not
is.
necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. So the problem is that his girlfriend is doing what every woman does in the friend zone, which is she is abusing this other woman who's secretly in love with her or not secretly in love with her, and using it to have power. And
Yeah.
that
It's not
he's
very
in a-
nice.
and where she's pretending, oh, it's just, first of all, girl love, like, red flag. When you, if you have to invent a term that doesn't exist to describe your relationship, something's wrong. So I'm very suspicious of all of these elements. I think there's a huge problem here. I think that this guy should break up with this woman because she's playing games.
She's cheating on him, basically.
I don't know that she's cheating on him, but the way she
Well,
treats
she's
this
not
other
cheating,
woman,
and she's ready to
she's
cheat.
getting
I mean,
very close to the line, right? She's definitely in the
Yeah.
gray zone of where she's in the zone of where if she's cheating or not is up to interpretation. I mean, the line for me, if you're saying when is it cheating, I would say definitely when a finger goes inside. Like I can make a clear line. That's definitely you've gone too far. But it doesn't mean I'm cool with
you know,
guys.
you don't think 2 fingers is the limit? I mean, 1 finger might be okay. What about
Oh.
2? Maybe you
No,
think,
that's me. But that, again, that's me. So for
Yeah.
you, one finger is okay, 2
Yeah.
fingers is bad. So
yeah,
everyone
2
else
fingers is cheating.
and
1 is not.
she's gonna, 'cause then the thing is, this girl, this is the kind of girl that you tell her that, and then you find out something out. She goes, "Yeah, it was just a thumb. That doesn't count." It's like she's playing semantics games. My advice for this guy is to exit this relationship because
Yeah, she's kind of messed up. She probably likes her
if she
girlfriend more
will
than
do
she
this to her friend, and you're in a situation both of them are doing
True.
things like she's lying by saying, "Oh, it's just girl love. This other girl's not that into me." It's like no.
What is just girl love? Girl love is as good as boy love. It's like the same thing. As you
No,
love
she's-
somebody, you love somebody.
No, but she's calling it girl love, so it's like, oh, it's not like love. It's just like two
Yeah,
girls
I
being
understand. It's just no big deal. I mean, come on.
All right. I have another angle on this one for you. My girlfriend slept with her ex the day before I asked her to be my girlfriend. And I feel sick about it. So I
Why
recently
did she tell him? Why did she tell him that?
Great question. I recently snooped through my girlfriend's phone. Great start.
Oh boy.
I've been feeling emotionally vulnerable and not myself, and I just couldn't resist the urge to look. I found a photo of her and her ex in bed, and I saw the date on it. It was the date before I officially asked her to be my girlfriend. So many red flags in one paragraph. First of all, he knows the date he asked her to be his girlfriend. That's a huge warning sign something's wrong. I was feeling emotionally vulnerable. You aren't allowed to. As a man,
As a man, you can't use that phrase. Just,
here's what you have to
You're
do.
not allowed to.
Emotionally
No
vul-
man should use that phrase.
You have to keep it a secret.
Come on now.
I've felt emotionally vulnerable at points in my life, but I knew enough to not tell.
Yesterday, I had a jar. My wife Jody asked me if I could open a jar of
My God, I thought you
tomato
said put her
sauce.
in a jar. I was like, whoa.
Not that kind. So she said she can't do it. So I'm like, okay. I hit the thing with a, banging around, put it on hot water. I can't. I'm not gonna get that open. Try another one. And then my daughter's fiance comes and he opens it. So there, I'm emotionally vulnerable right now. I'm not a man. I can't even open a jar. I felt, and I told her, I said, I'm very emotionally vulnerable right now because I feel emasculated because this young man could open the jar and I couldn't, So I'm going to go
what
into
you
therapy
said?
about it. So I
You
think
didn't
we're
just
going to go
think
into
I
therapy for a
loosened it?
while.
You didn't do the classic of I loosened it for him. That's the classic answer.
That's a classic. Yeah, of course he did. I got it loose for him. Yeah, of course.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I
So-
loosened it for you. You think you helped me? I helped you.
No, I was in the middle of my emotionally vulnerable traumatic state, so I had to get that out. So everybody knew that I was feeling emotionally vulnerable. And that's the point here. As a guy, you know what? We're not allowed to say that. Just keep it to yourself. I agree with what you said. Don't tell anybody that. Nobody wants a guy that's emotionally vulnerable. Just shut the F up.
So
Come on, man.
we've had situations where I needed to go into my wife's phone to like look up like the number for the school to call the school or something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There come
I
times
understand.
there've been times my wife says, "Hey, grab my phone and pull up this number," and I go, I don't know your password."
You know what I say? If her phone beeps, I go, "Your phone's beeping," and she'll say, "Who is it?" I say, "You want me to look at it?" And she'll say, "Yeah." I'm not going to look at her phone without her permission. I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. That's disrespectful.
I don't know my wife. I could guess my wife's phone password because I know the numbers she rotates through, but I have no idea what it is right now. That's what I mean. Like there's certain things you don't want to know. Now, he went and dug deeper and found out, like he investigated, which means now
He
he knows.
compares
that-
dates, looks at the photo. What's the date? He
Found
looks
out
at his
she saw a
calendar and goes,
picture of
"Oh,
the
that's the
ex-boyfriend."
same. That's the date. One day before, on my calendar, I look at my diary. That's when I asked her to be my girlfriend. So one day before that. Well, you know what? It wasn't the day afterwards. It was the day before.
I checked her
that's
Instagram
reasonable.
stories. She saw his Instagram story and sent a message to him. Says, "I want you to bang me so hard I can't walk." And here's what's crazy. To make matters worse, she left me on red that same day. So like I guess she had. I think that means he sent her a message and she didn't reply to it for a while. I guess because she was with this guy. All of this happened before they were boyfriend girlfriend.
It sounds like she loves drama. Sounds like he loves drama too. Sounds like they both love drama. You know?
None of this involves the woman. He went through her phone. Now
Yeah.
her sin is, and this is a classic sin, is she did not delete the evidence, and this is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's true.
You have to destroy the evidence. So
Okay,
that's
he's a drama queen himself. That's basically it. Yeah, he should just.
and it's like now he's like, oh my gosh, she liked one of her ex's Instagram posts.
Don't do certain things. Don't look on your spouse's, your significant other's phone unless you're prepared for what you could see. Don't ask her about her exes and don't ask her about any of that. Just don't. You don't want to know. It's not going to help you.
Yeah, don't
good.
ask. There's that question for lawyers: don't ask a question unless you already know the answer.
Unless you already know the answer.
Do not open a door if there might be a monster on the other side of it. And there's such a huge difference between before we were together and while we're together. Because now he's
Yeah.
freaked out about other things like,
Yeah.
oh, she liked this, she liked that.
She wasn't cheating on him. She wasn't cheating on him. They weren't exclusive at the time.
He
So
gets
that's
to-
fine.
He gets to have attention because he almost was cheated on.
Yeah. So, all right. So my boyfriend keeps testing me, to see if I care. How should I go about it? So we've known each other about 7 months, and it's the best relationship we've been in. I can really see a future with him. It's been perfect, but he's constantly insecure that I don't care enough about him. He keeps testing me to see that I care about him. If you cared about me, you would do this, you would do that. In the beginning, I didn't really mind, but now I start to see, this is a serious problem. I'm always reassuring him, oh, I love you, I'm there for you. But I don't think this is a very good thing for him to be so insecure about. It's not attractive. I'm
Wait.
fed up with it.
So she has to give him affirmation all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Explain it to me again from the top, because maybe I'm not understanding it. Why does he need so much affirmation? What was
He's
the
just
first?
like, he just says, his constant insecurity that I don't care enough about him, and I think that's why he keeps doing the things he's doing. It's like little tests. Oh, you don't care about me. You don't really love me.
She was like, he's insecure because he's missing a leg or something.
There's no
Yeah.
reason for it.
This is the same guy who was just telling us he's emotionally vulnerable, right?
Yeah, it's the
So-
same thing. It's
The
true.
number one thing that ends a relationship is telling the other person, "I don't know why you cheated me." Right? That's the death
You're
knell
too
of it.
good for me. You're too good for me.
And
Yeah.
that's what he's
You know
saying.
what,
He's like,
honey? I keep pinching myself because I wake up. I know this is a dream. No girl as cute as you would ever go with a guy like me. That's
yeah,
gonna be
so
the end
you
of it.
don't want nobody wants to be with someone that they have to constantly convince that they want to be with them, because that's a way to kill attraction. That's all this guy's
Yeah,
doing.
it kills all attraction, especially as a man. Being insecure is very unattractive. Extremely. Women can be insecure. It's okay. When man is not okay to be insecure, act insecure.
Everything has a limit.
Yeah.
If your wife needed you to answer every question, "Are you still attracted to me?" once an hour, Why are you still attracted to me? Why did you choose me? What do you like? There's always a limit, right?
Yeah.
Everyone,
But I'm
and
saying that
that's,
women are more entitled to go further with that than men are.
yeah, she needs to dump the guy.
Yeah. There you
Here's
go.
one. I got one that's interesting. A little over a year ago, I decided to foster a dog. I already don't like her. I hate when people talk like that. It was meant to be short term, but somewhere along the way, I realized this creature that wanted all the love and energy I had to offer. This led to many emotional arguments with my boyfriend because he didn't want a dog. I knew keeping the dog might break our relationship, but every time I tried to let the dog go, I just couldn't. I felt I finally had everything I needed. I couldn't bear to lose both this animal and this man. So now it's over. The guy broke up with me. There you go.
So she picked the dog over her boyfriend. It's okay. Maybe that was smart. Maybe that was the best thing.
I don't know. Whenever people say things, my experience is that when people tell you that they foster their dog or anything along those lines, of like, oh, this dog is a rescue, I already know I don't want to be friends with that person because they're already making it about something else. They're already like, I have a dog and I'm a hero, is what they're really saying. Is like,
Yeah.
you're not fostering a dog, okay? It's just, these are the same people that put dogs into baby carriages or call
Oh,
their
yeah.
dogs their kids instead. And it's like, no, a kid is a kid. A dog is not a kid. A dog is a dog. And this language to me is like she's using this dog as a filler for a kid, right? Because she's using the
Well,
language
I think she
very
doesn't
different
like her
responsibility.
boyfriend that much. So this is a good reason to dump him. And, so she found a good way to dump him. She doesn't have to feel guilty about it. And she didn't like him that much. So,
No,
you
I
know,
know. But she's added all this extra language of, like the
yeah,
dog gives me unconditional love and all this other stuff. It's like,
that's how
it's
people
not.
think today. They just
It's such
do.
a
I mean,
projection.
you see it so often. Everyone has
And
these,
listen,
like you
I
said, they have
love
baby
dogs.
carriages.
I
Yeah.
love having a dog. We've had many dogs in my family, but even with my wife and kids, we love having dogs when we've been able to. But and I meet people that are like, say things like, I had a friend who's like, oh, I love my dogs as much as my kids. And I was like,
You're
what?
weird. You're messed up. You don't love your dogs as much as your kids. It's ridiculous.
Well, no, he did.
No.
People just, but my whole thing is that once you start saying, it can't just be that I got a dog. I fostered a dog. Means I got a dog and I'm a hero for doing it. And it's like,
So you get to make a point to be socially.
but
You're
you're not
wonderful. You're smug. Everyone
really.
admires
You
you.
you took a child out of the adoption system. The dog was in the adoption system, and you removed. No, that's what I mean. Is it's not what the word means. It's just like when people do that, they belittle actual foster parents and stuff like that. So people are crazy. You got any
Well,
more?
one more, and then we'll call it a day. So my fiance, uh, basically, he says that every time I'm in a relationship, I lose interest in the relationship. I lose sexual interest. So it's been 4 years together, and there's a baby. There's a young baby. And she says, 2 years ago, I noticed our sex life had just started to tank. We went from sex nearly every day to zero interest overnight, seemingly. And then when we did try it, roughly half the time, he couldn't stay hard. And he just said, well, he said, that's been an issue for me. He said, I've had these long-term girlfriends before, and they both cheated on me. And I just feel at this point, he says, I just lose attraction for women. I'm sorry.
This is the first time we've ever had someone blame their lack of erection on lack of attraction. He actually said the thing that everyone fears the most.
Right.
Oh, no. I don't have a health problem. I just don't think you're that
It's just
good.
you. It's just you.
Yeah. No, don't. I don't need to go to the doctor. No. And listen, how about this one? I'm attracted to you. It's my body. My body just finds your body revolting. I want to stay with you. I like you a lot. I love your body, but my body, no. My body does not like
She
your
says
body.
also, the baby's now, older. still a baby. She says, my sex drives come roaring back. So it's frustrating because he's such a good partner. It makes my libido even higher, makes me want him more,
That's
but it's
interesting.
just not working. Yeah.
So, I mean, the things he's saying are so strange. Women in the
Now, this is a
past,
woman talking. Yeah.
women in the past cheated on me, so I have problems getting erections. That's a self-confidence issue. I get that.
Yeah.
But I mean, probably what happened is that during the period after having the baby, when they couldn't do anything, he got back into the old porno habit
Yeah.
and he numbed up his downstairs. And
Yeah. His
now
brain.
he was like, rather than admit that, he's like, oh, just because you're not pretty. He went a really surprising route, which is it's, yeah, I guess I just am not attracted to you anymore. Weird. Which is, I mean, she took it in stride, which is very impressive because it's a pretty mean thing to say.
Yeah. Well, she's a problem solver. She wants to solve a problem here. And, she's not trying to be in a conflict or drama. She just has a problem she wants to solve. And I don't know. I don't think there's a good solution, but I think what you said is true. I think she should say, would you agree to have blockers on your phone, porn
Yeah.
blockers on our router, porn blockers everywhere, make it really impossible for him. There's something called Next DNS, which is, so, a
Yeah.
DNS is when you enter a web address that looks up the number and sends you to that website. You can get a DNS that blocks all the sex sites. So you can't really look those up. And you just need to do stuff like that. If he agrees to all that, I agree with you. I think he probably start cutting
Yeah.
back.
I just don't think it's this because it's whenever someone is having the
Yeah,
problem part of the time, it means it's not medical.
right.
And I think that yeah, it's like, just, I think it stinks. It's interesting that she's the one with the libido and he's saying this other stuff, but, you know, sorry, man. It's a bad situation. It's a tough one. I've got one for you. My last one. This one is so
Okay.
crazy. So, I I'm 24. My girlfriend's 32. We've been together for 2 years. I'm already like not. I'm already like what? The girlfriend's 8 years older than him. We moved in 6 months ago. I love her. She's fantastic. About a little while ago, I decided to go through her laptop, and I went through her laptop, and when I went through it, and I found a weird blog full of racist rants. I tried not to jump to conclusions, but my curiosity got the best of me, and I looked at her history and bookmarks. What I saw was mortifying, and I felt physically ill. I've had weeks to process that she is a Nazi sympathizer. And he's like, it's a deal breaker for me.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
here's
I
the
could
thing,
understand that.
I don't believe him. This is
How
why I
could it not come out in other things or
well,
other behaviors?
here's the thing. He didn't say that she's on a Nazi website, right? Now, I was invited to join a Nazi organization when I was 18. Okay. They invited me to join a Nazi offshoot of the Ku Klux Klan. And I said, well, guys, I'm Jewish. And they go, listen, we're not really focused on that right now. We're really focused on the black thing. This is true. And I said, well, what if it turns out I'm really good at this? What if I'm the one that breaks it and we've solved the black issue? Are we going to get back to the Jew thing? And the guy was like, oh yeah, we might. I was like, that's not a good incentive. So I didn't join. I appreciated the invitation. I was quite surprised, but I was like, this is not, I love to join I like a good organization, but this one's not
It
the right.
looks fun. I mean, it looks like fun. I love your costumes.
My friend did
Like,
join. I had a friend who joined and
yeah,
I said, you don't have any white friends. All of your friends except for me are black. Are you sure? He goes, they're not anti, they're just
yeah,
pro-white.
yeah.
He gets a tattoo, gets jumped in. They beat him up. They beat you up when you join and you get a scar. He quit
Wow,
like
I didn't know
6
that.
weeks later. And I ran into him 6 weeks later. He goes, I quit, man. Those guys were so racist. And I was
What
like,
a shocker. What a
on the
shock.
label, like they were wearing like Nazi uniforms with SS pins. Like they wear the outfits and the whole thing. Like it's not people who are really, I've known real Nazi sympathizers. The guy I knew who was really into Nazi stuff wore Nazi clothes. He used to wear a Nazi uniform around downtown and have like an SS pin on the corner and everything. Like he was not hiding it. Okay. So my suspicion is that she saw. I think he found out she's a Republican. Like, and I think, you know what I mean?
She likes Trump. She likes Trump, so
I know,
therefore.
because that's what I'm hearing here. Because she.
Oh, so that's interesting.
Because he didn't say I found her on a Nazi website. I didn't find her drawing sigils. Like any of the people who are actually into Nazi stuff, they own memorabilia, they have a flag, they march around the house sometimes, they listen to a very specific type of. I've known people that are really into this stuff. I've been to an actual Nazi house party. Whole thing, right? And so I've been there. I've known a real sympathizer, and it's they don't hide it. They're not. Nobody who's actually into it is ashamed of it. What he's describing, right, is I went through her laptop, I found something I disagree with, and I mean, I just feel like he might not even found out she's a Republican. He might have just found out that she's like a centrist, right? Because he's like, all he found really was that it was a weird blog full of racist rants. She's probably like, maybe she's on 4chan. Like, I think he's reacting. And I think part of me hopes that she's interested in what these people think, but how likely is that? It's wrong on so many levels. I don't see myself with someone like this. And also, I don't think there's a lot of modern actual Nazis. I don't think they're that common anymore. I think I ran into one of the last ones. I haven't run into someone who's into it in more than 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just find it so unlikely. People just call it, maybe it's because everyone calls everyone a Nazi these days, that I just am desensitized to it. I just find it so unlikely. But this guy's talking about stuff like, I have friends of all of these different races. I don't have a racist bone in my body. Yeah, it's like, that's not really, there's more to Nazism than that. You know what I mean? There's like a lot more to it than, he didn't say she's a racist. He's like, she's more than a racist, right? She's like Nazis are into a whole bunch of stuff, right? And so my feeling is they should definitely break up because this guy sucks. Like we said, remember we said don't go through your partner's phone. You might find out that they slept with their ex.
You're really not going to like what you see.
Of a secret organization.
It's like kind of going into someone's brain. You don't really want to know what they're thinking either, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
that's why it's hidden.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, maybe you just want to mind your own business.
With that, we are going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for being here. Hit the subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hit the bell icon so you'll be able to hear about the next time we're on and be entertained and have fun. And we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.